All right, it's Friday, the end of the second week of the campaign. Here's Curse of Politics with Jenni Byrne, fancy hat, Scott Reid, plain red shirt.
Nope. Lightning bolt. Shazam. Captain Marvel.
Oh, wow, I missed that. Missed that entirely. Nick has his Blue Jays hat on. Nick, are you an optimist about the Blue Jays?
No, David, I'm not.
Oh.
I just like the hat.
Oh, God almighty. Jenni, why are you wearing a hat today?
Well, it's Friday. I'm really fucking tired, and I decided to wear a hat. And if you look at it, this is a Burns Live Bait hat because, and I have to tell you guys like a little saga, and I'll be very quick about it. I had uncles on my mom's side and my dad's side competing at a certain time in the late 80s, early 90s in the live bait business in Finland. It was the Montagues and Capulets, but you can tell from...
That must have made family gatherings difficult.
Well, they were opposite sides, but you can tell from this hat, it's the Burn. This was the Burn side. They were a bit fancy. They got hats, but it's...
Oh.
Yeah.
And who had the best live bait?
Oh, David, you can't make me answer that.
Are you more of a minnow girl or a worm girl?
I don't actually. I would use worms over minnows, but I prefer. I don't like live bait. I like using lures.
We don't when we gets right down to it, we don't agree about anything.
You're a minnow man.
I'm a minnow man.
Opposites attract, Scott. Opposites attract.
There we go. And I'm wearing this shirt today, David, just very quickly, because this Liberal campaign needs to stand in a field, shout Shazam, and transform itself from Billy Batson into Captain Marvel.
Hey, you guys, I don't know if you know, but Nick Taylor-Vasey from Politico is here.
Hey!
Hey.
Yeah, I'm the guy wearing the hat. Other hat.
All right, Nick, what's the view from Politico today?
So this is, I think going to make some of you, but you might boot me right out of here because maybe I'm way off track. But I'm going to talk a bit about Afghanistan, which was in the headlines yesterday for several different reasons. And a little bit about what people are thinking, particularly on the conservative side of this election, on how this might actually be something that voters think about. And the conventional wisdom, and I know it's wisdom for a reason, is that foreign policy doesn't move votes. But some conservatives yesterday I talked to said if something goes horribly, horribly wrong in Afghanistan in the next few days, next week, where a Canadian dies and the Prime Minister government's forced to respond, the fact of the foreign policy issue won't really be what matters at that point. It will be a leadership question. And how does this government respond to crisis? And so there you have Aaron O'Toole's video he posted last night on Twitter for probably people just like me, as I think Scott Reid has suggested.
Well, it's 3.5 minutes long. It's 3.5 minutes long.
Long video, but I know I watched it, and in it he is trying to look like a leader, a guy who has something to say about this crisis. And so whether or not that actually has an impact, and I'm looking in your eyes, and I think you're all saying to me, no way, you jerk, you're naive. I still, conservatives were talking about it yesterday, and I have a feeling that might be something they move with.
Conservatives better be careful, because when you're talking about the what ifs of, if a Canadian citizen dies in 2 weeks, it's almost sounding like you got to be careful what you're saying, if that's what you're spinning to people like you in the media, because it almost seems like that's what you want, and obviously nobody wants that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's fair to say that anybody's really said that directly to me. Like nobody, that's kind of me doing my own, my own extrapolating. And I don't think anybody's cheerleading for that, even like in Twitter DMs where no one can see. But it's, right. But I think it's on people's minds.
So, Nick, this is our last session until Monday. So where are the leaders over the next 3 days? What are they doing? What's happening? What's their plans?
Well, they only tell us, David, where they're going to go for the next 12 hours, but I can give you that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The Liberal leader, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, is in Mississauga today. He's in the 905, and he's ending the day in Bolton, which is in Peel region, but is in Dufferin-Caledon, a conservative riding, has been for a long, long time. But they must feel like they've got something to prove there. Like most suburbs, a collection of exurbs, it is growing, and so that's where Trudeau ends his day. O'Toole's on the East
Bolton
Coast.
itself has been growing a lot, changing that riding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And O'Toole he starts in Newfoundland, and he ends in the riding of Sydney Victoria on Cape Breton Island, which was quite a close riding in the last election. That was Liberal territory. That was Roger Kushner territory for a long, long, long time, and he has since retired. And it was a squeaker in 2019. Conservatives obviously think they've got a shot there. They did a really, really, really well in that part of the province in the provincial election, which was, of course, not Aaron O'Toole's Conservatives, but maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then Jagmeet Singh is in Thunder Bay. He's talking about healthcare in the very same city in which the health minister lives and represents. Patty Haidu's a Thunder Bay person, and that's where Singh is today. And at the end of the day, he's launching a campaign of not the opponent of Patty Haidu, but the neighboring Thunder Bay riding, which is a riding that's been in play for the NDP for a number of elections. They've lost it, and they want to win it back. And so he's doing his thing where he's going to places where the NDP does not have seats but wants them.
Well, all right. So everybody's playing a bit of offense today. Nick, thank you for this week of joining us in the mornings. It's great to have you as part of the team here, and great to have Politico's input into the show. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Right on. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
See you, buddy.
What do you want, Scott?
Oh, I want the dose. I
He
want the
wants
needle in my arm, brother. We need
needs
to
it.
know. We need to know. Give us the numbers.
Get your pencils?
I already write down the party names before you give them, David. So I'm all ready to just write down the numbers.
What order do you want them in?
Oh, surprise it. I love when you surprise us.
Like where taffeta?
Liberals. 29. Conservatives, 34.5.
Say that again?
34.5.
Jesus, fuck.
I say 0.5, not to give them 35. I might normally round that up, but
I wrote 35 just for your
exactly.
Just for your benefit.
NDP 20, Greens 4, People's Party 6.
Give us
Bloc
Ontario.
5.
Give us Ontario, man. I know what you're going to say. I know you're going to tell us, be careful, sample size.
David, you can't have it both ways. You can't say the sample size is too small and give it to us. So that's my feeling on it.
It's 500 cases. It's not too small.
Okay.
And by the way, let's remember, this is all collected this week. So the oldest data in this study is Monday.
Okay.
Liberals, 32.9, 33 in Ontario. Conservatives, 37. NDP, 18. Green, 4. People's Party, 8.
Wow. Okay.
That's interesting. Listen, the People's Party.
Hold on. Two other things. Gender gap. Conservatives still lead the Liberals by 16 points among men, but the Liberal lead among women is down to 5 points over the Conservatives, with the NDP running at 25 points among women. Now let me take you through the age breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Under
we're doing
35.
We're doing it all today. Happy Friday, everyone.
Under 35, Liberals 23, Conservatives 28, NDP 33. 35 to 49, Liberals 27, Conservatives 37, NDP 20. 50 to 64, Liberals 33, Conservatives 35, NDP 13. 65 and over, Liberals 35, Conservatives 38, NDP 14.
So they're taking back that senior vote.
Yeah, the Conservatives have won back the seniors and the boomers. Well, I guess most of the boomers are seniors now. So,
Hey, watch your language.
You've got to be you're Gen X, are you not?
I'm right. I'm 68. Dave, you're X?
I'm a marginal boomer. I'm 62. I'm right at the tail end of the baby boom.
Yeah.
But I have to say, in terms of the advantages of life, I think I'm a baby boomer. So, what do you think?
Well, if I was
Jenny?
the Liberals, if I was the Liberals, I would be like, I would have been, to your story yesterday, David, I would have been in the mini bar calling my, I couldn't call my mom, but I called my dad, and I'd be sounding the alarm right now.
There are only two options. You either believe that these numbers are incorrect, or you believe you must make a fundamental adjustment. But you can't believe these numbers and believe that it's rational to keep doing the same thing.
But would they not? They obviously must be doing their own polling. We all did our own, all our own polling, and I'll be honest, I never really followed the national numbers once. It was me basically calling, Brooke Piggott when I would get numbers and say, okay, well, I want you to tell me what this region is. I want you to go into this riding and do a riding by riding poll. I want you to do whatever the biggest sample you can do in a riding. I want you to do that. But even if they're not, unless their numbers are telling them something different, they can't be ignoring these numbers. It would be put your finger in your ear and go la 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 la. But it doesn't make it not the case.
Right. It's funny. Elections are one of those times where, even in disagreement, Canadians come together to connect over where we're headed in the future. Our presenting sponsor, TELUS, makes it their mission to make digital connectivity more powerful and reliable, and to connect Canadians living in remote, rural, and Indigenous communities. In fact, since 2013, they've invested over $5 billion to connect 137 communities and 56 First Nations across BC, Alberta, and parts of Quebec to their world-leading pure fiber network. Have you ever heard of Eden Valley, Alberta? It's known for its gorgeous terrain of hills, valleys, and highly unreliable cell signals because of those hills and valleys. When COVID hit, there was an outbreak at a local packing plant. 18 members of the Bear Spa First Nation working in the plant tested positive. Immediate communication with Alberta public health officials became critical. So TELUS quickly deployed a powerful cell site on wheels. They call it a cow, normally used for one-off occasions. Community leaders got to work tracing contacts and limiting spread of the virus. Supports were put in place for families as those who tested positive went into isolation. The key to it all? Flawless connectivity between residents, families, and public health. And as for the future, TELUS believes we must work urgently and collaboratively to ensure that 100% of Canadians and Indigenous peoples living in Canada, including rural Canadian and Indigenous communities, can get access to reliable, high-speed broadband networks and connectivity by 2025. You can find out more about all this at telus.com/connectingcanada. So we've been talking about the Liberal campaign a lot this week. Let's take a look at the Conservative campaign. 35 points. Today.
As the Liberals continue to shit the bed, let's turn our focus and talk about the Conservative campaign.
Well, I wanted to talk about what I thought what we think they're doing well. I'm happy if you got. Hey, Jenny, what's on your mind? I would never want to deny you an opportunity.
David, I'm teasing you, and I would always tell you what was on my mind.
It's an interesting campaign to me. There's a lot of strategic discipline. Like this week has been Workers' Week. And let me give you one last data point out of this study. If you went to university, 34 Liberal, 29 Conservative, 21 NDP. If you went to community college or technical school, Liberals 24, Conservatives 42. So he's been banging away with ideas that. Go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say this is getting into 2011 territory for the Conservatives. If I'm the O'Toole campaign, it's a real fucking double-edged sword right now when you're looking at the numbers at the end of week 2. They're not in national numbers extremely strong, but you're leading in all the demographics, and so you're feeling you're doing something good. Like people like you're saying, well, fuck, Jenni Byrne's wrong when she says that Aaron shouldn't spend time in the studio because it seems to be working. I still think I'm right about that, but anyways, our strategy is working so far. And if you're the Libs, I like this has to be a weekend. Like if Trudeau was in BC yesterday, where was he yesterday? Did I forget where he was?
He was in Quebec yesterday.
Quebec. Yes,
he went in the morning. He got from BC to Quebec, and then
I was about
today.
to check my notes from yesterday. To me, this has to be a Liberal weekend. It's the equivalent of what you said with your meeting, and we've all had it, where you call the campaign office, depending if you go dark on Saturday or Sunday. The day you're dark, you call the campaign office, campaign in, the senior people, and you're like, okay, we need even if it's not a reset, even if your polls show you doing better than what the public polls are, something has to happen this weekend before Trudeau goes on the road to shake things up.
Yeah, their down day is Saturday, or at least it was last week. So it would be tomorrow. But the Toronto Star reliably informs us that won't happen.
Well, I want to come back to that later if we can. Because I do want to talk about that article and some of the logic behind it. But for the Conservative campaign, I think a couple of things. I'll start at the strangest spot, but I'll pick up on what Jenni said about the studio. If I'm an opponent of the Conservatives, I agree with Jenni. I think that the studio has not been an effective use of his time, other than maintaining a campaign activity without having any real exposure. So it is a low reward exercise, but it's also a low risk exercise. You get to put it on the agenda, on the itinerary, you get to do it, the media follow it, whatever. They may not file much on it, but you're not going to screw up very much there. So it's very low risk. And that tells me that if you're an opponent, you have to say they can take this guy out too. I mean, now having established that he's not a hateful Frankenstein creature, he can now go out into a crowd, and so that's a bad thing for the opponents, right? Like he has another gear left where they can show him interacting with people and having people like him and smile and respond to him. So that's a worrying thing if you're an opponent. They've got an obvious card left in the deck to play. But it also speaks to the word that you said earlier, which is what I think typifies the Conservative campaign so far. And I don't want to glorify it. I think there's lots of opportunity for these things to change. And if you're the Conservatives, that it is coming for you, right? That the media, at some point, the media focus will shift and they'll start to scrutinize you in a way that they haven't. And your opponents will start to fire silver tip bullets at you. But the discipline, one thing for sure that the Conservatives haven't done, whatever you want to say they've done right, you can argue about all those things. For sure, one thing they have not done wrong is fuck themselves up. They have not had candidates erupt. They have not had people say stupid things. Nobody has talked about having sex with animals. Nobody has talked about pissing into a coffee cup. No one is backbiting their leader. It's all been very buttered to the edge. And I guess if I'm the Liberal campaign, I say, guys, right, one thing we know, if I'm in Trudeau's corner in between rounds and I'm, slapping water into him and I'm saying, hey, you've got to make him fight harder. You've got to get his hands up higher.
You look more like Burgess Meredith than Angelo Dundee.
This guy's killing you, Rock. Right? They've got to go. They've got to unleash. Now's the time to say, go to your left, Rocky. Go to your left. Okay?
No, I said it. He needs to. Mick used to tie up his right arm, so Rocky would only use his left.
So but he was a southpaw, and then he was leading with his right. Now you gotta come there and hammer him. But they've not been screwing themselves up, and they've not been challenged enough. I mean, we saw, and this bleeds into the Liberal campaign, I guess, but we saw, and we've said this already, but we saw that he got wounded for a day or two on abortion. He got wounded for a day or two on healthcare. But because he wasn't made to keep his hands up and keep his fists up under that, he was able to waltz out of that corner. I mean, when you get him on the ropes on that, you've got to hammer. So I just think if you look at the things that the Conservative campaign has done well, they've done a good job in presenting Aaron to the population and all that kind of stuff. But the most important thing, I think, is that in this first 2 weeks, they've not gotten in their own way. They've not fucked up. And when they have been attacked, they've been able to slip the punch.
It's listen, I agree. I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. If I were the Liberals, I would be going after individual candidates on what their vaccination status is. I think that is kind of where that's going. I just want to say, I've never dealt with anything in politics where someone was fucking a goat or some farm animal, but we both have had incidences now where people have pissed in cups. At least it wasn't an MP for us. It was just a candidate.
When I was in high school, there was a guy in grade 12 who transferred in. And he transferred in because he'd been hounded out of his high school. Because
only Reid would have a story that leapfrogs off of that.
Because he had been caught in a farmer's field putting a goat's back legs in rubber boots and doing the most unmentionable act. And
come on,
that guy had it.
It's a family show.
That guy had a hard time. That guy had a hard time getting through high school. I got to tell you, there's a lot of Old MacDonald being sung whenever he walked down the hallway. It was. And maybe that was bullying and harassing, but I'm going to tell you, if you screw a goat in 1984 in rural Ontario, you're going to fucking hear about it.
So what's the point of this week of announcements by the Conservatives? What is the point of day after day worker-friendly announcements? Yesterday was CPP and EI for gig workers, which sounds, I would have to say, like a very modern idea out of the Conservative Party. Like it is surprising to me that they're the party that seems to have talked about the gig economy more than the Liberals. So it's is it a direct appeal to that voter group, or is it an attempt to broaden the image of the party to be more modern and more inclusive, or is it both of those things?
I think it's both of those things. Like this is kind of and like I actually think this week was very good for the Conservatives. This is kind of something like in the policies that we did in the 2000s with Patrick Mouchard, who was literally one of the smartest strategic people that I ever worked with in terms of a policy mind. And so I think they're kind of doing a bit of both. I don't think most people, though, take our listeners aside, who I love listening to us daily. The average person, I don't think, paid much attention to this week in politics. It literally is the dog days of summer.
Yeah. Things are moving, though.
It's distressing if you're the Liberals. Yeah, like that. That's where I was going. Like, it's distressing if you're the Liberals, if people are not paying attention. But by osmosis, they've come to the conclusion that they're not with you; they're with someone else. I mean, that's. Can we ask David? I don't want to grab the wheel, but you guys didn't like O'Toole's video that he released last night that Nick made reference to, and I wanted to just ask you guys about that for 1 second, because I think lots of people are chattering about it.
I just don't think I think this is one of these issues that you have to be very careful. Like, it's a fine line that you have to play between showing leadership and making it seem that it's political there's a political opportunity on it.
I don't know. I just still think, listen, the video was a fine thing to do for media purposes, as you said, and it was well executed. I presume that's one of the benefits of their studio. But I just don't think Afghanistan is an issue in the election. And I don't think it will be an issue in the election. And so I think, if anything, again, as I watched the news last night in Afghanistan, is the first 15 minutes, if anything, it is a difficulty, it is a challenge to the Liberal campaign to try to execute the kind of pivot reset we are talking about, that you cannot command the news attention, that you cannot be the lead story on the news. No matter what you say in this campaign right now, you cannot be the lead story on the news.
And the Liberals, I think that, listen, I've said this before. I think the Liberals' hands are tied slightly because they really are following the lead of the Americans. This is if there's an indictment on a government, it's an American government. I think the only place in the world where this will change election results is in the U.S. And I think that Biden and the Democrats are going to have a hard time in the midterms, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
Months to come.
Months to come. Yes. But I think that unfortunately for the Liberals, which would have been any government, regardless of the political party, they're kind of just like they've got to go with kind of the American lead on this.
For sure. And look, I really strongly agree with the point you make, David, which is that the most significant impact of Afghanistan is that it dominates 15 minutes of the news cycle. And so it's very, very hard for you to penetrate with a message that says, could you take a second look at us, please, and remember what you like about us and like come back to the fold. Very, very hard for the Liberals to get the oxygen in order to do that. So I do think that. But I thought that the video was shrewd in a relatively precise way. It's obviously disingenuous. His 3-point plan is a jumble of things that we're already doing, or that, motherhood stuff, like let's work with our allies. Well, no fucking kidding. I think that probably dawned on somebody. So, but it's not about his 3-point plan at the end. It's not even about the disingenuous thing about like everybody. Now, there'll be time for questions later. Let's not be partisan about it now. Now, having said that, I will beat the government about the head with a mallet. What I thought was smart about it was 3.5 minutes of investment, maybe an hour for someone to write that script and 20 minutes for him to record it. I thought it was a good, smart investment of time to extend what's been working for them. One of the things that has been working for the Conservatives in the first couple of weeks is that they presented an Aaron tool that Canadians didn't know in a way that is, at minimum, not abrasive and probably working somewhat in terms of appeal. And one of the constituents for that is that influencer world. Unthreatening. And so, I just think there is such a gigantic lake-sized pool of conventional wisdom out there that likes to say, well, we need measured leadership and all that. And whether it's media or observers or the people that sort of, mumble around from the Monk Center and talk about our responsibilities. Now, after having advocated for greater commitment to Afghanistan for years, now they're advocating for why it's impossible to remain in Afghanistan. Like that whole conventional wisdom, that video lets every single one of those people go on and say, now, look, this is a responsible, measured, apolitical response to this crisis. And it just contributes in an osmotic way, again, to the branding of Aaron O'Toole as a sensible, moderate, trustworthy leader. And he said the word plan about 4 times in that video. And his program has the word plan on it. As we've talked about in your focus groups, David, it never hurts to stick the word plan. So I thought, I don't think that my mom will go, wow, I really changed my view. I liked what he had to say in that video. But I think my mom will be forced to see a column from John Ibbotson saying, what a thoughtful and measured and wonderful, this is the kind of conservative leadership we've been looking for. And you'll hear it on the radio. I've been asked about it twice on radio already today, and it's not even 7 a.m. So I thought that it was a shrewd tactical play. I don't know.
Your mom reads Ibbotson?
No, I canceled her subscription. That's not true. I kind of love the Globe, actually. But yeah, but it'll be that chorus of people that would be saying, he didn't do the knee-jerk political thing. He rose above. Yeah, okay, all right, sure. He'll get all that.
With that tone of voice, it is time to summon the Hey Yous. Gordon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats. The Hey Yous are about to begin.
All right. Who's going first for the Hey You?
I can go because I'm doing a lighthearted Hey You.
Oh, well, I'm not.
Oh, nice.
So wow.
You go. Mine ain't lighthearted.
My Hey You is to my friend Adam Chambers, who's running in the riding of Simcoe North. buddy, I'm coming up to door knock for you. So be ready. I don't want to see like fancy swag or anything like that. I want to like show up, give me some lit, and I will be out on the doors in Midland or Aurelia, flying the flag for Adam Chambers and the Conservative Party.
Identifying supporters and killing opponents. Scott, you got a hey you?
I do have a hey you. My hey you, I have a double hey you. I have a hey you, first of all, to the Liberal campaign. And in particular, I'm going to do the thing that I always advise people not to do, which is don't get absorbed by a strategy story that's in a newspaper. But today, our friend Tonda McCharles in the Toronto Star has a story where the Liberal campaign, you made a bleak reference to it, David. The Liberal campaign says, listen, we're not going to break. We're not going to lose our nerve. We're not going to panic. We're not doing a reset. And all those that bitch and moan and sit in the media on the sidelines or old fogies, as I think there's some heard of, indirect reference to, who are out there saying this campaign is ailing. Well, you can just fly a kite, you guys. And I will say this, right? So I would tell them,
I would tell them to go fuck themselves.
Well, I don't want, I'm not impolite. I don't like to speak so coarsely. My message to you is this, right? Honesty is loyalty, and there's no greater badge of loyalty than honesty. And I'm fine with you guys having this story in the paper and telling people, look, we're not going to break, and everybody's, stay strong and stand tall. That's fine if you want to do that, provided that the second you put the phone down and do that interview, you are turning around to the campaign team saying, we're meeting at noon and everything is on the table for discussion and change. So honesty is a badge of loyalty. The second thing that I would say that's associated with that is the kind of loyalty I'm talking about, the kind of honesty I'm talking about is having the courage to say to yourselves, what we're doing doesn't work, and say it to power. Like, so the person who's third most important in the war room says it to the person who's first most important in the war room, who says it to the person who's chairing the campaign, right? That's the kind of honesty I'm talking about. What you don't need in a moment like this, when nerves are going to be raw and emotions are going to be running high, are people going into the newspapers, the unnamed Liberal MP and the unnamed Liberal candidate saying, this campaign sucks, they need to sack everybody running it, get rid of that shit is no good. That shit is crap. And you don't need to be doing that. Don't be firing. Communicate your honesty directly. That's a sign of loyalty. Don't take to the newspapers and say, everybody who has been so smart for 6 years is now suddenly stupid overnight, and I want to see them all sacked. What? And replaced with who? Your sign captain? Fuck off to that, okay? So that's a double hey you for me.
No, Scott, David, I don't want to take up too much, but Scott, you're entirely right. And this Liberal campaign, we have been on the all of us, I think, probably on the end of people saying, get rid of these fucking guys. They don't know what they're doing. So we know that. But these guys are like, the Liberal campaign are 3 or 4 days away before they lose the complete narrative on that, where they will have that, and it'll be whack-a-mole trying to figure out who it is, because it'll be from like everywhere.
Like, I hope that message of, listen, we are not doing a reset is the sort of thing you say when your marriage is breaking down. You say, honey, there's no way I'm leaving. And then you walk into the next room and finish packing your bag. Where did I put my shaving cream? I got to get the hell out of here.
Okay. I got a tight hey you to the Liberal campaign. This election has turned into a referendum on you and on the Prime Minister's ambition, and you need to turn it back into a choice. You get the weekend to turn that around. So, folks, we're not back till Monday. Everybody here got to go through their weekend withdrawal. I'm sure the three of us won't be able to make it. We'll be talking to each other all through the weekend.
Oh, I'm going to be talking to you guys in 30 minutes. Like, I
I know. Everybody enjoy yourselves this weekend. Liberals, get your shit together. And thank you to our presenting sponsor, TELUS. Thank you to Nick and Politico. Thank you to Jenni and Scott, of course. And thank you to everybody for listening or watching. And we'll see you on Monday. Curse Politics.